Hi, welcome to Myers ASMR. How are you feeling? Are you relaxed? Shake that stress off. You're loved and supported. You are loved and supported. Look what I got. I made some collard greens yesterday, and I picked up this already cooked meatloaf from Whole Foods. It was 50% off, so let's see how it tastes. It's nice and thick. I added some extra tomato sauce because I love my sauce. Okay, that's good. It tastes like turkey meat. It tastes like it's mixed with something, I'm not sure what. Of course, I love my own collards. Just some simple greens with salt, cayenne, and olive oil. I poured a little olive oil after they were already done cooking because I didn't want to cook the olive oil. I read that some oils get destroyed by high heat. So, if it's not necessary to heat the oil, then don't. This has a carrot in it. Interesting. Maybe I'm not hungry, or maybe I'm just not crazy about this meatloaf. Aren't those some good looking greens? Who's heard about red light therapy? I first really came in contact with it when I went to the gym. Well, I went to a new gym recently. I got the free 1-week trial, and this particular gym actually had a full body red light machine that you step into, close the door, and it's just this bright surround of red light. I mean, it's really powerful. The first time I got in it, I had my sunglasses on because they suggest that you protect your eyes or close your eyes. And it's so bright that they need a fan inside of that room because, you know, the lights, it's not a sauna, but the lights produce heat so it can get hot in there. So I started reading up on red light therapy, and it's got so many amazing benefits, but most of the devices are crazy expensive. And I just started just doing my own research on YouTube and finding, you know, if I could make a device myself and seeing who made it and who made one and all that. But even the people who made their own, they got like panels that were already ready-made panels, and they kind of put them together, but it still costed them, you know, hundreds of dollars. So I just went right on Amazon, and they have red light lamps. I mean, I researched like the wattage of, or what do they call it, nanometers, nms, the range that it should be in for the therapy to be effective, and I found just a simple lamp on Amazon for like I think it was $30 or $35. It came with protective black glasses, like the darkest shades I have ever seen. You can barely see out of them. And it came with the socket, I mean, that you plug the lamp, the bulb into, all for like $35. I'm just saying, I'm not trying to take anything away from anybody who has these $700 masks and all of that. But sometimes there's just a much cheaper, budget-friendly option when you do a little digging, when you really break down, okay, what exactly is this? What are we talking about here? We're talking about a bulb, basically, a bulb. And the one I got is pretty bright. I mean, it's not an all-over body, but it pretty much is like this size, so, you know, and you're supposed to have it at least like 6 to 12 inches away from yourself. So I'm just saying, that's just, and you use it for about 10 to 20 minutes per day or 3 times a week. And a lot of these devices out here, they spot target anyways. Like the cheapest one that I found was something for the face, this wand. It was like really tiny, and you just kind of hold it to specific areas on your face, and that one was $100. I'm like, it's gotta be a better way, folks. Just get you a bulb, which comes with the lamp socket, and there you go. I forgot the company, but there's a bunch of them on Amazon. You just have to do your research for the proper nanometers. I think it's a range of maybe 650 to 800 is the right range. Most of them are like 680 nms. Sometimes I wish I lived on the beach. coastal state, but I live inland, so it still takes me like 2 hours to get to the shore. But I also feel like, at least in New Jersey, like, I'm looking for that perfect beach town that has a New York flavor, and that might be asking for the impossible, because how could it have a New York flavor when it's so far from New York? You know? I mean, Asbury Park has a lot of things that I look for: the live music scene, the arts and culture, a nice sophisticated dining scene. I guess if I want a beach with a New York flavor, I should go to a New York beach, right? Well, that would make the most sense, but I live in New Jersey mainly for work now. My job dictates that I have a New Jersey address, so it's funny, the more I eat this, the better it tastes. So I'm like, I might as well finish it. You know, red light therapy is also used for hair growth. And I first saw these, I don't know what you call it, things on YouTube that, you know, you put them on the head. And once again, they costed like $800. Look, get that red light bulb I was telling It's a clamp lamp. So you clamp it onto something and have it right on your scalp, okay? And there you go. Get on with your life. No, they're not sponsoring me. If they were, I would tell you the name of the company. I would tell you regardless, but honestly, I can't remember. But it doesn't matter because a lot of companies make those. You know, I kind of miss Manhattan the way it was, and I do understand that the pandemic changed things globally, so of course New York would be affected too. I mean, I'm trying to choose my words carefully because with every challenge and adversity, there's a silver lining, and things happen for a reason. They feel painful, and they feel like suffering at the time sometimes. But then there's a flip side of things needing to change and be shaken up. I'm not saying that people needed to be sick and die, but I think the earth is expanding, it is evolving, and we are all evolving and growing with it. Wow, this is so good. It's called, I think it's wild sweet orange tea from, I think it's Tazo. Yeah, it's Tazo tea. Oh my Lord, and I put a peppermint tea bag in there. I used my tea bags twice, so the peppermint one I had used yesterday, so, you know, to make it on its own, it probably wouldn't be very strong, so I just added it to the wild sweet orange tea. But getting back to New York City, I'm seeing that, how do I want to call it? I'm sensing that bit of lawless, dangerous energy that was present before it got revitalized around the 90s or whenever. Like, Manhattan wasn't always that nice and safe, let me just put it like that. I mean, I'm 52, so when New York was at its most dangerous and all of that, and when you were scared just to ride the subway, I was a kid, so I wasn't really over there that much. I mean, I'm from New Jersey, so, and when I did visit New York, it would be with my parents in the car, so we weren't out on the streets, and we certainly were not taking the trains and the subways. I don't think I took a subway until I was probably maybe 18 or 19, and by then it had cleaned up, and it was a lot safer than it was in the 80s and early 90s. for the past few decades, it's been a very thriving place. I mean, everywhere you looked, it was just bursting at the seams with businesses. So to see so many things shut down and just empty storefronts, the blight is a bit hard to believe, you know what I'm saying? And then you're seeing a lot more of, okay, I'll call them derelicts. This is not a judgment, but they are more in the open. And it's obvious to me that they never disappeared. They were just out of sight. And now they're just openly on the streets, sleeping on stairs, kind of like taking over sidewalks and just being more bold with their presence than they ever have been in recent decades. So that's a bit different, you know, because I know Manhattan especially, they wanted to make it tourist and visitor friendly. So it had to have this gloss and this sheen to it. So you just didn't see a lot of certain elements out in the open. I'm putting it like that. You didn't see derelicts just freely roaming and in the middle of the street and sleeping just laid out on sidewalks and stairwells and stairs the way you see now. It's just like, wow, something has really happened here. You know, I used to feel like New York was this dream place because they just made it look that way, you know. Anyways, I don't know what I'm saying. Basically, whatever social societal ills that were always there, that's basically what's going on. These things were always there. They were just more out of sight. So now it's clearly in your face. You know, so to be amongst, because New York City is one of the wealthiest places on the planet. So to be amongst all of that and then to see the blight like juxtaposed, occupying the same space, you know, it's just okay. It just really makes you stop and wonder and pause, and especially because it's just different now, you know. It's a difference. Like when you went into the boroughs, you know, Brooklyn, Bronx, you expected that because that's where a lot of the poorer people lived because it was cheaper. So I'm not trying to step on any toes. I'm trying to be very, very careful. Look, let me disclose. I am from Newark, New Jersey. Okay, so don't even come. You know what I'm saying? I am not from some whatever ivory tower silver spoon. All I'm trying to say is how New York City has changed since the pandemic. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm not saying you shouldn't visit it. Not at all. Visit it. All the good stuff is still there. Sometimes I strongly wish I still worked there. But New Jersey has had a hold on me for a long time. Every time I was looking for a job in New York, New Jersey would find me something better. Something that I couldn't refuse, couldn't turn down. So, here I am. it's time for the next fun part of the video. Today I'll be reading from The Great Gatsby because it's just a wonderful book of literature and I never got to read it when I was in school. So I'm going to pick up where I left off on my way to work. Sometimes I read a few pages, so I'm going to start from there. Let me see. Mr. McKee was a pale, feminine man from the flat below. He had just shaved, for there was a white spot of lather on his cheekbone, and he was most respectful in his greeting to everyone in the room. He informed me that he was in the artistic game, and I gathered later that he was a photographer and had made the dim enlargement of Mrs. Wilson's mother, which hovered like an ectoplasm on the wall. His wife was shrill, languid, handsome, and horrible. She told me with pride that her husband had photographed her 127 times since they had been married. Mrs. Wilson had changed her costume some time before and now was attired in an elaborate afternoon dress of cream-colored chiffon, which gave out a continual rustle as she swept about the room. With the influence of the dress, her personality had also undergone a change. The intense vitality that had been so remarkable in the garage was converted into impressive hauteur. Her laughter, her gestures, her assertions became more violently affected moment by moment, and as she expanded, the room grew smaller around her until she seemed to be revolving on a noisy, creaking pivot through the smoky air. "My dear," she told her sister in a high, mincing shout, "most of these fellas will cheat you every time. All they think of is money. I had a woman up here last week to look at my feet, and when she gave me the bill, you'd have thought she had my appendicitis out." "What was the name of the woman?" asked Mrs. McKee. "Mrs. Eberhard. She goes around looking at people's feet in their own homes." "I like your dress," remarked Mrs. McKee. "I think it's adorable." Mrs. Wilson rejected the compliment by raising her eyebrow in disdain. "It's just a crazy old thing," she said. "I just slip it on sometimes when I don't care what I look like. But it looks wonderful on you, if you know what I mean," pursued Mrs. McKee. "If Chester could only get you in that pose, I think he could make something of it." We all looked in silence at Mrs. Wilson, who removed a strand of hair from over her eyes and looked back at us with a brilliant smile. Mr. McKee regarded her intently with his head on one side and then moved his hand back and forth slowly in front of his face. "I should change the light," he said after a moment. "I'd like to bring out the modeling of the features, and I tried to get hold of all the back hair." "I wouldn't think of changing the light," cried Mrs. McKee. "I think it's—" Her husband said, "Shh," and we all looked at the subject again, whereupon Tom Buchanan yawned audibly and got to his feet. "You McKees have something to drink," he said. "Get some more ice and mineral water, Myrtle, before everybody goes to sleep." I told that boy about the ice. Myrtle raised her eyebrows in despair at the shiftlessness of the lower orders. "These people, you have to keep after them all the time." She looked at me and laughed pointlessly. Then she flounced over to the dog, kissed it with ecstasy, and swept into the kitchen, implying that a dozen chefs awaited her orders there. "I've done some nice things out on Long Island," asserted Mr. McKee. Tom looked at him blankly. "Two of them we have framed downstairs." "Two what?" demanded Tom. "Two studies. One of them I call Montauk Point, the gulls, and the other I call Montauk Point, the sea." The Sister Catherine sat down beside me on the couch. "Do you live on Long Island too?" she inquired. "I live at West Egg." "Really? I was down there at a party about a month ago at a man named Gatsby's. Do you know him?" Kaiser Willems. That's where all his money comes from. Really? She nodded. I'm scared of him. I'd hate to have him get anything on me. This absorbing information about my neighbor was interrupted by Mrs. McKee's pointing suddenly at Catherine. Chester, I think you could do something with her, she broke out, but Mr. McKee only nodded in a bored way and turned his attention to Tom. I'd like to do more work on Long Island if I could get the entry. All I ask is that they should give me a start. Ask Myrtle, said Tom, breaking into the short shout of laughter as Mrs. Wilson entered with a tray. She'll give you a letter of introduction, won't you, Myrtle? Do what? She asked, startled. You'll give Mickey a letter of introduction to your husband so he can do some studies of him. His lips moved silently for a moment as he invented George B. Wilson at the gasoline pump or something like that. Catherine leaned close to me and whispered in my ear, neither of them can stand the person they're married to. Can't they? Can't stand them. She looked at Myrtle and then at Tom. What I say is, why go on living with them if they can't stand them? If I was them, I'd get a divorce and get married to each other right away. Doesn't she like Wilson either? The answer to this was unexpected. It came from Myrtle, who had overheard the question, and it was violent and obscene. You see? Cried Catherine triumphantly. She lowered her voice again. It's really his wife that's keeping them apart. She's a Catholic and they don't believe in divorce. Daisy was not a Catholic, and I was a little shocked at the elaborateness of the lie. Well, isn't that some interesting reading from The Great Gatsby? Hey, this book is kind of falling apart. It's a new book, too. Well, remember that you are loved and supported. You are loved and supported. And hey, if you like what I'm doing here, like and subscribe, donate to the cause. Catch me in the next video, and may you find lasting happiness.